Welcome to the Christian channel. I'm your host, Yanitza Munoz. Today I have Klypso here to speak about his musical career and his upcoming projects. So tell me, Klypso, how did your love for music begin and what inspired you to become an artist?
Sure. So my love for music began with Michael Jackson. I grew up through that era of music, so I was uh I was able to actually like gravitate to creativity and originality and just soul, through that time of music. And Michael Jackson was my favorite artist. So I got to really love on music because of him and how creative he was and the things that he did in his visuals. So it really impacted me as a artist that liked to draw, that liked to, entertain, and it built something into me.
Mm, that's beautiful. And also, what were like some of the most memorable moments you've had in music?
Some of my most memorable moments was when I was actually able to take my dad to a venue that I was booked for. I was DJing for Flo Rida. Did the halftime show for the NFC Championship game. It was the 49ers versus the Carolina Panthers. It was in 2014. And me and my dad grew up being huge 49er fans, being from the Bay Area, born and raised. Go Niners. And then yeah, it was just an honor to be able to take my dad on a trip with me to watch me perform the halftime show alongside with Flo Rida in front of 73,000 people. I mean, I was honored, and it was a place in my life where I made my dad proud. And that was like one of the major things for me to be able to repay my dad back for all the support that I got from him and my mother as a child growing up under them. So that's probably my best memory I've got that I'll always talk about.
This episode is sponsored by Runewood Rosary. Runewood Rosary Company handcrafts rugged, heirloom quality rosaries for the modern, medieval man and woman of faith, built to withstand life's battles and to draw your heart deeper into daily prayer. Visit runewoodrosary.com and use code ChristianChannel10 for 10% off your order. Fight the spiritual battle. Pray the rosary every day. And for the love of good craftsmanship, upgrade from the flimsy plastic rosary hiding in your junk drawer. Get a rosary worthy of the mission. Each rosary sold supports this show and the work we're doing here. Now, back to the episode.
Oh, that's a beautiful story. And I know you are a man of faith. Now, do you feel like a lot of your Christian faith also ties into your music?
Yeah, nowadays I'm finding the way to actually do that. I don't think I thought of it so much of that before. I've carried my faith and my belief in God all through the years that I've grown up. I've taken time apart from really being into it with this big gap of time in my life. And going through some harder times in my life got me reintroduced to the relationship that I already had existing with God and made it even better. So yes, I am finding myself tying the knot between my music, my art, and how I'm going to speak, in volume through my belief. But before, I don't think I did it as much because I was more tunnel visioned, being a younger guy in the music industry, trying to find my way. And yeah, I think I'm tying the knot closer, and that's what I did with this project. Faith has really called me in the last few years. I found my way with Stray Cat and what it means to me, and how I'm gonna put my faith and belief of rejoicing the.
Mhm. And you are right now promoting your new song, Stray Cat. I
Mhm.
was able to listen to it and I thought it was a really cool song. Now,
Thank
tell
you.
me a little bit about the symbolism of the lyrics of your song, Stray Cat.
Yeah, so it stemmed from my heartbreak. I went through some trouble with the mother of my children, and unfortunately we split up and things got really hard. Um, so I dealt with some challenges, and that song symbolizes the heartbreak that I went through with, the woman that I loved. And I just, found a way to come about the hardship from it and show strength, through my faith. And I wanted to visually put hope in the music video and combine the sad song with the walk of faith, and my slogan right now is that everybody could be the superhero of their own story, right? I'm the superhero of mine. You could be the superhero of yours. You're not alone type thing. So mental health is a serious thing. I went through those challenges and I'm still working on it still to this day. But I couldn't have done it. I mean, regardless of the working out and the physical fitness and getting outside and trying to get in the routine of socializing again. I mean, to be honest, there was nothing more powerful than bringing God back in my life to be able to change things up, through my belief structure.
Amen. In a lot of the podcast interviews I do, I've noticed that a lot of those who I interview always come back to God. And I feel that it happens to all of us. And I love that you brought that up, that with your experience, you hope that others can relate and know that they are not alone because there's such a
Hmm.
stigma around mental health. There's such a stigma around, people's relationships not working out. And a lot of people like to bury that pain. And
Yeah.
I love that you are talking about it openly because you can help other men. I feel like there's not a lot of mental health support for men. And
Mm.
being that you're openly talking about it, putting the lyrics in the song Stray Cat, I think that's cool because other men will be like, oh, I relate to that. I'm not the only one. They might feel
Right.
the stress being relieved from them. And that is another connection to God because at the end of the day, uh, in this world, we have a lot of pain and agony. And at the end of the day, that doesn't come from God. That comes from the other guy probably. And
Hmm.
aside from that, we also have the gift of discernment where we're able to know, hey, this isn't the path for me. And you notice that the path you're heading was not for you and you did a pivot and now you're finding some peace. You also reflect a lot of your happiness through your music. And at the end of the day, it shows how strong you are.
Thank you. That's very kind of you to say. And I appreciate you recognizing that. And yeah, I definitely think there's a platform here to reach out to the other men out there that, are a little antisocial about these things and that are a little closed off, and that's the thing. It's like the more I bottled it up when I had it going at its worst, it didn't do me no justice. The more I opened it, let it go, gave it to God, spoke to friends that cared and, passed it on within the community that I'm really, really close with, by the way, at my church. Shout out to Fearless and my leaders, Pastor Jeremy Johnson and Christy Johnson. Those are amazing leaders that are a huge part of my life. Um, and also, my transformation, like, I mean, you have to have people holding you accountable, so when you want to make some changes and you're serious about it, I think the best thing to do is to have a community around you that can hold you accountable for those things. And I really have to shout out the people at my church, that are just regular church goers, because some of those people have become my long-term friends, just being in the process and, attending church. And then they'll check on you and they'll pray on you. And the accountability level is serious, and I mean, it's hard to come out of the shell, so I can understand what that feels like. But yeah, when you're a man and you're able to say, listen, these are the problems that are on the table and I want to let it go, and you start getting serious about it, that's your first step to freedom right there, in my opinion.
Yes, very much so. And you've worked with so many celebrity artists, collaborated in music with them. Can you name a few of them that you've worked with aside from Flo Rida that you've mentioned?
Yeah, well, I started my career in the Bay Area, so I worked with some Bay Area icons like Mac Dre, E40, Too Short. And then when I figured that, I had a bigger place in music and, a bigger chance, I, took my whole life to LA at 17 years old and found myself working with Dr. Dre, which, moved into 50 Cent and then, other big artists. I got Grammy nominated for doing Lupe Fiasco's album in 2013. And that was an amazing experience. And it changed my whole thought process on like how limited I was thinking about music and where I would want to go with the direction of producing music and staying in one genre. And, I was a hip hop guy for so many years and opened my whole world. And that's why I've probably gotten to where I'm at now musically, where I can do so much and so many different musical things because I've opened my heart to it. And I really love music. I love music like so much that it doesn't have to matter what form or shape it comes in, as long as it feels good and those frequencies are shaking you up. Um, which brings me to mention worship music. I wasn't really too like worshiped out when I started going back to church and stuff. Like I was making my attempt and, putting my hands up and opening myself slowly. and I wasn't really listening to it on my own. Like when I'd leave church or anything until like probably about a year ago, I felt like I needed it, when I wasn't at church. So now I'm like listening to worship music to start my day, and like no Bible studies required or anything. It's just, a feeling that I want. I want God to know that I'm worshiping Him on a daily basis. And it's become a part of me, like drinking water, essentially, to have some worship in my day at some point. And uh,
Beautiful.
yeah,
And after hearing all this, it's like perfectly aligning to my next question because it's almost as if like these experiences that you went through in your life, it was God's way to bring you closer to Him. Because, like I
mm,
mentioned earlier, you were going on the wrong path, and mental health affects everyone, but with men, they don't like to talk about it.
yeah.
And here you are expressing your feelings, going to church. Do you ever feel like with all these experiences, maybe God is calling you to maybe be a part of a men's group? I know a lot of churches do men's group. I go to St. Norbert's in Orange, and then I go to Holy Trinity in Ladera Ranch in Orange County. It's
Yeah.
a Catholic church over there. And they do like women's groups and men's groups. And it's just so amazing that these people just tell these groups of individuals that they can relate to about their issues, and then everyone just feels like, oh, okay, I'm not the only one. I feel like you would be great at being in a men's group and talking about mental health and being strong and praying every day and leaving it in God's hands. And then also praying for discernment, right? Because you ever just get that feeling in your stomach where you know something's not right. Maybe you're going to be singing or rapping with an artist and you just know this isn't probably the right
Mm.
brand move for me. I feel like maybe I should stick with someone over here.
Yeah. 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 So as for the men's group, I'm a part of one called X18 that my church Fearless hosts. We do it on Thursdays, and it's us, men. It's they do that with the whole church and break it up in different groups. I happen to be a part of the one that the leaders are a part of. I've
Nice.
gotten brought into that circle, which is really nice, to be able to be in touch with my leader pastors. Um, and have this meeting. I'm not in it as often as I want to because I'm normally working my other job that I have, which is BuzzFlow marketing. That's the hat I'm wearing right now. I make an honest living on the side of music and just trying to keep the family stuff going as well. I work as a marketing executive over there, but when I can take a break from it, I'll join. And we have our men's meeting, and we talk about the prior sermon from the Sunday before. They'll play a clip of it. We'll have open discussion about it, open about personal stuff, and then we'll all pray on each other after. And it's really, really strong to have a group of men like that praying on each other when it's already, like it's hard enough as is to get a group to say, hey, let's collectively pray as a group, right? But when
Especially for men. It doesn't matter
especially
what
for men,
denomination you are. You could be Catholic, Protestant,
yeah,
non-denominational. It's about men. I don't know, not against you, but I feel like that maybe men just have this different kind of level of pride where they get embarrassed, to talk about their
totally.
issues. But with prayer, it could definitely break down that barrier and just make you feel at peace.
Totally. I was on a
Mhm.
hike with some of my buddies and a few of one of my friends' kids, and we just went up to the top of this mountain, was hanging out like where you could see everything in LA. It was really beautiful there, and then I like huddled us all up for a prayer, and I just like I remember how powerful that felt because like it was random and it just was like off timing from what probably everybody was thinking in that very moment, but it was actually very cherishing to get that feeling after that like of power and when you do a group prayer on the random, when nobody's expecting it. Like I feel like God's looking out for that just that much more sometimes, and like he already knows like how hard we make it for ourselves as men, no matter what religion you're based with. So yeah, I can only agree with you, and I think the more of us men that step up and do this, like it's going to rain more power around the world, and it's going to influence other men that are unsure and make them a little more sure, right?
Hmm. Exactly. And that leads me to my next question. What advice would you give to young Christian artists trying to stay true to their faith?
Yeah. So, God, this is an interesting question. So, the last sermon from last Sunday's church, Pastor Jeremy, went in and mentioned that God is the creator, right? The ultimate creator. He created Satan when Satan is trying to replicate his creation. It's like he's the ultimate
Mhm.
creator. So he made it a point that when we are creating, we're almost creating directly in his image because he gave us that. So when we create, that's a gift from him, right? And he just went in and deep dove on it and it was beautiful and it resonated with me so much because I am a creator, right? So when you ask your question, I think kids that are, trying to put the faith into their music that are, hardcore believers or just getting new into it and getting their feet wet in the water, I mean, come to it and have faith, right? So yeah, I think painting the picture with what you believe in as art is already going to come from God's gift, right? So that's the way
Mhm.
anybody should come at art, in my opinion.
Yes, using your talents for good.
Yes.
Hmm. And do you happen to have a favorite Bible verse or a quote that you love to talk about to help others?
Yeah. Psalms 24:3. Um, that's a Bible verse actually that I put on the end of the music video that really resonated with me and this song and the meaning behind this journey that I'm on. And for me, I'm walking through the shadows of death all the time. I'm finding myself in LA, where it's like really tricky to know what you're around. And you can make a decision and say, you know what, I don't want none of this and just like hide in the hole, but you're not really promoting, like how good God could be to anybody in that moment. Instead you're pushing yourself away. So I still like to show up at these events that I might not resonate with and partake in the substance use with or anything of that nature, but I still want to show up and play Stray Cat for these people, and like that's something that's 420 based or something that's this, something that's that, just because like people need to get the word and they need influence and
Yeah, they need
they
guidance.
they need that, and I want to be that leader that could walk through that moment and not be tempted and not have to hang with the party that way and actually show face and give my belief structure out, and show my opinion about what I belief is and do it through my music.
Beautiful. And for all those who aren't following you already, where can they listen to your music? Can you give me
Mhm.
your social media handles and your website?
Sure. Yeah. So you can listen to my music practically on any DSP. So Spotify, Apple Music, Google, Amazon, everything down from there. My music videos on YouTube. Uh, you spell my name with a K, so it's Klypso. And yeah, you could find me on TikTok. I'm I engage a lot on social media. I'd love for you to follow me. I'll follow you back and engage with you and talk to you about anything you guys want to talk about. If there's a mental health question, if there's a question about my next song, or if you want to share some of your art with me, I'd love to hear from you.
Hmm. And now tell me a little bit about your goals for the next, let's say, 10 years. Where do you see yourself?
Cool. Well, I'm going to start that next 10 years with this next journey that I'm going to be on in January. I'm going to tour some colleges and speak mental health to some students and perform my music, share my comic book. There's a comic book releasing in part with this trilogy with the song music video. There's a comic book coming soon. I'm going to give the people a release date fairly soon here. And, I think I'm going to head down the comic book industry and do some more publishing on the comic books. I'm obviously going to give you guys more music. I plan on giving another song by February, an EP, doing more music videos, being on tour, getting intimate one-on-one with the people and making not just f fans, but friends as well.
Hmm. And before we end the show, I want to bring up again what you mentioned when you go to events. And being that I'm also in the industry, I know what you mean. You go to events and maybe you're like, I feel like those people are lost. Do you ever feel that you would want to maybe give them advice or tell them if they ever need a friend to call that you're there, or maybe reference them to the church that you go to the men's group?
Yeah, actually, definitely. I think that's an exact opportunity to engage with people when some others may be, too shy of it. They might think of it, and say, oh, maybe I could say a word that could possibly better their ideas, or get them in a direction, right? Or like that's not the crowd I want to be around, and you kind of push off of it because you're maybe disgusted with the habits that people are picking up or something like that. But to me, I feel like it's getting an opportunity to engage with somebody and potentially put them in the right direction and give them some kind of word. Sometimes a simple hello, goodbye, a hug, or, something friendly can change somebody's whole mind state in the day, when they're having a hard day or a hard time. I think I'm receptive to these energies, so I feel it a little more when I walk in rooms and I get around certain crowds to where I could feel maybe something is going on. So to me, that's my godly sign, that maybe it's time to engage with somebody or come say hello. But of course,
Mhm. Beautifully well said. Well, thank you so very much, Klypso, for taking the time to speak with me on the
of
Christian
course.
channel. For everyone, please like and subscribe to the Christian channel here on YouTube. And you can also find us on Roku TV, where you can subscribe and watch all of our movies and TV shows as well. Also, follow us on social media and follow Klypso as well. We're going to have his link here in the bottom of the screen. Until next time, I am Yanitza Munoz.